Hello everybody, my name is Caitlin and welcome to my first book review. So like a lot of people, I grew up loving reading and then just kind of fell out of it as I got older. And then late last year, I found the Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas and I fell back in love with reading. I read the first three in November and December of last year, and those were the only books I read, but I was just really happy to be loving reading again, and I decided for this year I want to try to read as many books as possible, ideally at least 50, and so this video is for the books that I've read so far in January, February, and March, which is a total of 11. So hang out, stick around if you are interested in hearing about those. All right, so the first book that I read this year was continuing along in the Court of Thorns and Roses series, and it was A Court of Frost and Starlight by Sarah J. Maas. I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5. I think it was a super fun read. I'd consider it kind of like the Christmas special of the series. It's about them after the war and getting ready for winter solstice and just rebuilding Valaris. And it was the first book we got where it switched perspectives a lot throughout the story, and it was just super fun to read. So continuing along, the next book I read after that was the last one currently in the ACOTAR series, and is A Court of Silver Flames. And I kind of think I want to give it like a 3.5. I want to say 4, but I think it's only a 3.5. And that's because like I love Nessa's story. I love everything she did with the Valkyries. But it's just there was not as much plot. Like it's an almost 800-page book, and I feel like this is more just spice than plot of the series. And like I said, I loved it. It was great. Loved everything Nesta did, but I just wish there was more of that plot that made me fall back in love with reading. Like this just felt like it was mostly meant to be spice and nothing else. So I hope in our next one that we get a little more plot and a little less spice, just because I missed it. I felt like there could have been a lot more done in these pages than what actually happened. So the next book that I read was I Will Find You by Harlan Coben, and I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. It's a super short day read. It's only 300 pages. I think maybe just a little bit over that. And it's a really great mystery. It's about this guy who was put in prison for supposedly murdering his son, and then he finds out by his sister-in-law who comes to visit him that she thinks she found his son 5 years later, that he's actually still alive. So the whole book's about him breaking out of prison and going to try to find his son. And it was just, I could not put it down the entire day. I was walking around cleaning, reading, like I could not stop. It was so good, and I cannot wait to read more of his novels. Definitely 5 out of 5, recommend. So the next book that I read was continuing along in the Sarah J. Maas universe, and it was Crescent City Book 1, House of Earth and Blood. And I'm going to give this one a 4 out of 5. I absolutely loved it. I loved the characters. I loved the plot. Definitely, like a lot of people said, it is a bit confusing at first. You have to get a bit of a ways in for things to start to make more sense, but I absolutely loved it. Bryce is amazing as the main character, and it's just such a really fun story. And it's like, while we have that still similar like ACOTAR fairy magic vibes, like it's set in a more like modernized city, which I thought was really cool. And yeah, absolutely love this one. Great start to the series. 4 out of 5. So next book I read after that was the next one in the series, Crescent City Book 2, House of Sky and Breath, and this one actually was a 5 out of 5 for me. I loved how many more different characters were introduced and their viewpoints we started to get, and it was just, the plot like was still really good. It picked up in a great place, and again, just super happy with this one. I definitely think this one, which is a weird opinion, but this one was probably my favorite in the whole series. I really loved just continuing along with these characters, and I also probably read this one in maybe a weekend. I could not put it down. Super great. Recommend. 5 out of 5. So the next book, before I read the next Crescent City, I actually took a little Sarah J. Maas break and I read The Wives by Taryn Fisher. And this one I think I'm only gonna give like a 3 out of 5, maybe even a 2. Honestly, I think it, like, I'm so conflicted because I liked the plot. It was really great, but I think there should have been way more trigger warnings about this book. It's very heavily focused around domestic abuse and psychological issues. So it was a little triggering to read. I wish I had known a bit more about the content before I started. I wish there was a disclaimer in the start, kind of mentioning more of what the content revolved around, but it was a good story. But because of those other things, I think it's probably only gonna be a 2. So after that, before I read the last Crescent City, I, for some reason, like, I was seeing so much stuff about it, and I had to start Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Again, this is a 5 out of 5 for me. I think this is currently my favorite series. Violet, Xaden, Dane, Rhee, everyone is such great characters. I loved the plot. Dragons are cool. How could you not like dragons? And this definitely, for me, top of my list so far. Favorite series, strong 5 out of 5. Then, because I'm apparently a masochist, instead of finishing and reading Iron Flame, I went back to Crescent City and read book number 3, Crescent City, House of Shadow and Flame. And this one, for me, I think it's only like a 3.5, 4 again. Like I said, Sky and Breath was definitely my favorite in the series. I liked the plot still, but it was just too predictable. Too much of the things seemed so easy. Like, everything just worked out. Like it still loved the characters, loved again how much wider still we got of different viewpoints of different characters throughout. And I love like all the roles they end up in and things like that, but it felt too easy. Like, every single thing worked out. You kind of could tell what was gonna happen, and it just wasn't what I was hoping it was gonna be. So I think this one's only gonna be a 3.5 out of 5. After reading that, I let myself go back and finish the second book in the Fourth Wing series, Iron Flame, and again, this is a 5 out of 5. The ending of this book had me screaming. Like, I thankfully was not reading my hard copy and was reading it on my phone, and I mean, maybe this isn't thankfully, but like, I screamed. I threw my phone across the room. This book has made me feel so many emotions, and it's so great. If you have not started this series, you gotta. I cannot wait for Onyx Storm to come out next year, because like I mentioned, this is definitely currently my favorite series. These books are amazing. I love the romance that develops. The friendships are great. And it's just a really great story, watching them all discover themselves and their power, and definitely still 5 out of 5. After that, next what I read kind of recently, I read this over Easter weekend, was Abby Jimenez's new book, Just for the Summer. And this was my first book by her, but I absolutely loved it. Again, it was a kind of shorter read. I think it was maybe like 400 pages. Yeah, it's exactly 400 pages. I read it over the weekend. So good. The characters were so great. They had great backstory for like such a short book. Like, you really felt like you still got to know the characters really well for it being so short, and just the plot is super funny. It's about 2 people that find each other through Reddit, both thinking that they have a curse that whenever someone breaks up with them, they go on to find their soulmate. So because they both have the curse, they want to meet and pretend to date, so that this way when they break up, they find their true soulmates. And it was a great read. Again, little disclaimer, there is some substance abuse psychological issues and things like that in it. So I think that's super important to know going in. If you struggle with mental health, this could be a bit of a triggering book for you, but it was so great. Could not put it down. Cannot wait to read more by her. I absolutely loved it. 5 out of 5. And then the last book that I've read so far this year was again by Taryn Fisher, and this one was Good Half Gone. This one I will give maybe like a 3.5, 4 out of 5 stars. It's really interesting. It again kind of is in her same genre of psychological, I would say, mysteries. It's about twin girls, and it focuses on the main character, Iris, who says that when she was 15, her twin sister was kidnapped, but no one believes her. So again, super short read. I think this was, again, only like 300 pages. Yeah, exactly 300 pages. Nice, cozy day off read, and would recommend it, but I think it's probably going to be about, I want to say 4, but I don't know what it is with me. With shorter books, I just can't rate them higher because I'm like, I always want them to be longer. So I think this one's going to stay at a 3.5 stars for me. So those are the 11 books that I've read so far this year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe for more content. I'll probably put these out every couple of months. I don't think I'm reading fast enough to do it every month, but we will see. Also, please let me know in the comments how I did. This is my first time reviewing books, so I don't know if I shared too much, too little, if this was just a rambling mess or whatnot. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.